right, what's good, everybody? We are back again for another week. The Black Phoenix Podcast, MC and TR. Thanks for kicking it with us one more time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. TR was good.
Hey everyone, it's been a pretty good week though. So just I was a little late on this, but I just finished up my taxes. So glad to have that put
I,
behind me.
man, I just finished ours on last Friday, so you ain't the only one.
Yeah, the taxes is it never creeps up on me though, but I was just dragging my feet though. So I'm glad I'm done with that. And I guess we got the NBA playoffs starting here too. So actually I might watch a few games just to see some storylines play out.
Yeah, the playing games have been decent so far, but yeah, we'll see. We're gonna, I'm a Pistons fan, so I got something to be excited about again.
Hey, who do you think is taking the championship?
Probably the Celtics. I don't want to see that, but yeah.
Yeah, I would be surprised if the Lakers get there, but I know the NBA wants that to happen though, so we'll see.
Yeah, they would definitely love to see a Boston/Los Angeles finals again, but yeah.
All right, let's get to the show. All right, so this is a story that's running a little. I mean, with everything that's happening in the media, you would think there'd be enough time to kind of discuss some other things, but this one is a bit interesting. So, according to the New York Post, a Yonkers woman says a DNA lab mistake led her to abort her baby, only to find out months later the results were wrong. After getting pregnant, she allegedly took a paternity test through a DNA diagnostic center to confirm her fiance was the father. The lab, via Wynn Health Labs in the Bronx, claimed another man she briefly she briefly slept with. You mean cheated? Was the dad at 99.99% certainty. Facing New York's 24-week abortion deadline, she ended the pregnancy. Oh my God. Okay. However, months later on Valentine's Day, which is ironic, the lab called again. The results were wrong due to an IT error. The man wasn't the father. Now she's suing both the labs and says the mistake cost her her baby and her relationship. Get the fuck out. This is ridiculous. The amount of propaganda in this whole write-up thing, they're trying to save her from, like, first of all, she was cheating. And so they're trying to make it sound like she just has some fling. And then also they're trying to put the abortion ban, which I'm actually surprised New York has a 24, as liberal as New York is. I'm surprised they have a 24-week abortion ban. That's actually interesting to me. But thoughts, MC?
I've never been on any battles with child support, so I'm wondering how these L's go in these situations like this.
Yeah, but more so, what are your thoughts on the woman getting the wrong lab results and then also really destroying her relationship because she was technically cheating?
Well, she's trying to blame the IT error when the issue is really you was taking meat from more than one man, and you're blaming the IT company for ruining your relationship, not the fact that you got knocked up by somebody else. So she's dodging accountability. Technically, she shouldn't. She should not be able to sue anyone because she is the one that was in the wrong. She was the one that was deceiving. She was the one that presented false information. If you're not 100% certain who the father is, why? I mean, and she's probably got him going to classes, probably hitting him up for diapers and wipes, etc. So he's already financially invested here. But all of that goes out the window now because this chick was lying. But she doesn't see it that way. She wants to blame somebody else. That's my thought. She's dodging accountability.
Yeah, you know what's funny about this? So I'm actually controversial, but I'm actually with her about suing the clinic or the DNA people because they royally messed up. Like, your one job is to do a DNA sample and say, hey, who is the father, who is not the father. So I'm okay with her suing because that was their job. They messed up, and that's all the accountability I'm gonna have there. Now, when it comes to what she did, honestly though, was probably getting swept under the rug, and I know a lot of men are probably thinking like, well, he dodged a bullet. Well, she aborted your son. She are your first child you're supposed to have with her. And so I don't know how people are okay with, like, this makes a case to why men should have some type of say when it comes if a woman wants to delete her pregnancy. There should be this is the perfect reason to have that conversation though, because even though She found out that it turned out to be somebody else's kid, or no, it actually turned out to be his kid. He lost out. He should actually be suing her because she deleted his kid. I know there's been no precedent for something like that though, but maybe it's time to start to have that conversation though, because if she did it and thinking that it was somebody else's kid, you lost out on your. I mean, what if you don't have a kid again? Like, I know it's easy to say men can do that, but not too many men are marrying these types of women. So if he wants to just go out and have a baby, he can definitely do that. But if he wants to have a baby with his potential wife, he might not be able to do that. I mean, I don't know why you would even get married now, considering what he went through, as well as the guy that it's funny. In order for her to see who has like the DNA, she has to get DNA from one of the guys. So she either, if she got it from the father or her fiance, then she had to be sneaky behind it. If she got it from the boyfriend or the sneaky link, then he knew about it. Like, this is the stuff that's people don't want to have this conversation when it comes to, like, deleting your pregnancy as well as infidelity, because why would you even want to do any of this stuff? This is stuff that kind of deters people from wanting to get married, and this is before the marriage. So again, he may have dodged somewhat of a bullet though, but you lost your kid in the process. So is that the win? Is that the biggest takeaway though? And why? And she needs to be held accountable for that financially. No
Yeah,
amount of
but
money
she
will take care
won't.
of it.
She won't. You know how this goes. And his heart is probably broken. There's no better feeling than knowing you got one that's on the way. Well, there's very few things that even compare to that type of feeling. And she completely took that away from him. But my question is this: had this not come to light, she would have took that secret to the grave. She would have been
Yeah,
completely happy with not 100% confidence that this
that's
man is
another.
not the father and making a simp out of him.
Yeah,
This
that's
is,
another good point.
man, the amount of selfishness coming from this chick is astounding. And I believe this is going to happen at some point in the United States. There's going to be mandatory DNA testing for each child that's birthed. It's going to happen at some point. It
Hmm.
has to. And I'm curious to see how those numbers look, because I know the statistics have been floating around that Jamaica and Nigeria have the highest cases of paternity fraud. I think it's 1 in 3.
Jeez.
And I'm looking for the article to support it, and I'll circle back to that in a minute. I found one, but it's not a trustworthy site. But I would like to see something like that. I mean, why not? If you're going to put someone on child support and you're going to make life a living hell to them for the next 18 to 22, 23 years, you might as well make sure that everything is legit and in place, because right now taking word of mouth doesn't work anymore. We're way too promiscuous as a society for word of mouth to continue to work.
Well, yeah, not to mention, she was way too comfortable having this conversation though. Like, I understand she wants to have she wants to sue, but this is a statement from her though that she's devastated. She lost her relationship. You lost your relationship, and the amount of publications, because this is from New York Post, but also World Star Hip Hop. Like, since when did they start mincing words for folks that were cheating in their relationships and deleted their baby? Like, that's what I don't understand though. Like, had this been like some ratchet stuff related to, like, maybe a rapper, or like some woman doing something else like out of pocket though, they're giving that one a different type of that's having a different type of discussion. But for in this situation though, everybody's just like, well, they're being nice, they're being very kind with their words. But let me pull up the comments here though, because I'm pretty sure people felt the same way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a little accountability here. Yeah, pretty sure that the dude's ended the relationship. Sleep with one man that would have helped. Yeah. See, people are that's the easy spot. That's the easy, position to have to take. But what's not easy is, this is a case why men should be involved if a woman wants to decide to delete her baby. I almost think it's like, when it comes, like, when you give up your paternity rights, you got to get both parents to sign off on it. I think when it comes to this type of baby deletion, I think it's the same thing. I know some people are gonna be like, "Well, it's my body, my choice." Yeah, yeah. Look what my body, my choice did. Look, this is, and who knows how often this happens. Like at least she went to the DNA, which is, she was like, well, if I can't be see, and that's the other thing too. That's confirmation that the guy that she had the baby with was a lesser man than the one that was about to marry her. She would keep the
Yeah,
baby. She would keep the baby.
yeah.
That's
You
actually
know what? I never even thought about that, but you are 100% right. I just
she would.
posted the article, by the way, about the Jamaican paternity fraud. And check this out. If you that article also, I got it from another publication in the UK. The number of men in the UK who are unknowingly raising children that are not theirs is increasing too. So I'm starting to suspect that this is going to become a global epidemic at some point, especially in westernized countries.
Yeah, I feel for the folks that want to still get married out there though, because it's an uphill battle. There are some it's possible you can find your person, but good luck. Because when we sweep stuff under the rug, that's like, in this situation, and not to mention like nobody, I don't again, people are saying the guy dodged a bullet though, but she obviously was with a lesser man. Had this been like, I mean, Elon's baby or Jeff Bezos' baby, and that was the person they were cheating with, they're keeping the baby. 1,000%, they're keeping the baby. They're not going to be like, well, it's Jeff Bezos' baby, so I gotta go to the clinic. No. They would have kept that baby 1,000%. That's ridiculous, man. That's bad too.
So earlier you proposed that the men have a say so in the deletion process, and the women will fight tooth and nail to keep that. That's one of the one things that they will stand 10 toes down on and fully unify
Facts.
against.
Deleting their
So
kids
yeah,
and the gender pay gap. That's the only two things they fight for.
and I propose something different. I think men should be given something like a waiver of parental rights form. And it kind of makes sense into a business though. There should be some type of legal form that says, look, we're going to do this, but if this happens, I'm out. That's probably the only fair thing to do here, and I hate that I even have to say that out of my mouth, but this is just how far we've fallen as a society when you got to take steps like this.
Yeah. I'm gonna play this because you brought up a good point about the child support. And I think this is the video. Yeah, here we go. Oops.
File a suit affecting the parent-child relationship and get child support ordered, but only after the baby's born.
So how would the law change if this measure becomes the law?
So what this law does is attach parental responsibility all the way back to conception. Now, what I don't know how they're going to do this is attach how they're going to attach the fatherhood when they don't have the ability to do that until the baby's born. But they're going to
Pause real quick.
Pause indeed. Holy shit. I didn't know that was the case. I thought they were gonna do the what do you call, I don't know what it's called, when they poke you and they get the amniotic sac or whatever that's called. Chat, help me out. Like
So from what I read about this law, it essentially says that you're going to take the woman's word of mouth.
okay. I thought they were gonna do an actual test, but they're just going off of we just read a case where a woman deleted her baby because she thought the DNA was what the lover or whatever, and now we're just going to take the woman's word in Texas. All right, go ahead.
I will say this: since we bought it to Texas, Texas is still one of the, from the male perspective, is one of the friendliest states for child support. There's caps and there's certain things that they put in place, and Florida's probably going to catch up to them pretty soon too. And I think Tennessee's got some things in the works coming down the pipe. But
yeah.
My challenge to the women is, if we really want to repair these male female dynamics, you have to make these relationships more balanced, because right now the scale is leaning heavily to the woman's side, and it needs to get back to being balanced. There needs to be some sort of balance in this thing, especially if things go bad or if you lie and deceive. There has to be some accountability. We're held accountable all the time. Are you? Most men who have custody of their kids don't even put women on child support. So this is a woman-based conversation. So what does balance look like for you women when you think about stuff like this?
MC, I got to call you out on this one. It's not a woman conversation. Women are never going to do anything. And I think most people would do this, honestly. If they had the power, they would do this. Women are never going to go against their best interests because the amount of people that, first of all, the amount of people that were upset about the woman deleting her baby because she thought it was somebody else's versus the amount of women that are so in support or against this bill it's still a bill, so it hasn't become law yet. It has to pass the Senate. There was hardly no outrage. You know where I did see the outrage is on the men's side. And correct me if I'm wrong, though. This is I don't know who this guy is, but these are men talking about these issues. And the governor is, and the House and the Senate comprise of both men and women. So that tells me if the Senate signed off on it, the men and women in the Senate, the people that were voted in the Senate, they signed off on it. And then it's going to go to the House, which is, again, comprised of men and women. They signed off on it. And it's going to go to the governor. And the governor's a man, which is Governor Abbott. So I understand that, women need to take women should have a conversation in this. The fact of the matter is women are not going to have a conversation about this. If anything, they get more money. And then also the state gets a little bit more money. There's a whole conversation about how child support is not working and is well intentioned, but it doesn't work like that. And then also there's some kickbacks that are given to the state that it's in the state's best interest to change to make sure they start child support a little bit earlier. That said,
so you said a whole lot there, TR, but let me respond to the 3 points that you made. So number one, this is a woman's conversation because they have the power. They're the ones that have to get behind
women
the
don't
door.
have the power.
When it comes to child support, they have the power. I just told you the law is based on their word of mouth. They're not testing this DNA at conception. They're believing whatever the woman tells them. You have power. You shouldn't abuse it. That's number one. Number two, you made a statement that said a woman is not going to push her own interests to the side for the interest of the betterment of the family. Okay, by definition, then she's not a wife. And you shouldn't be making her a mother, but goofy ninjas are going to make her a mother anyway if she's attractive enough.
They're all making a mother.
That's all I'm trying to say.
What's your third?
That's all I'm trying to say. I was going to use an example of Congress. Congress is always talking about people with too much power, right? But they refuse to put term limits on themselves. So they refuse to give up their power for the betterment of a society. So by definition, you shouldn't be leading us. You should put some people in there who should. I look at it the exact same way. Those are just my counterpoints.
Okay, think of it like this. The reason I say the women don't have the power, well, they have a say-so. They can definitely impact it and tip the tides. But this reminds me of the whole the whole Roe versus Wade, because people that voted for Trump, now Trump said he wasn't going to do this, and technically he didn't do it. It's the Supreme Court that went ahead and overturned it, but ultimately he gave the power back to the state. So that's what people voted for. And anytime that somebody would say like, oh, he's gonna ban abortion or whatever, and I was like, no, it's up to the state. It's up to the state. The people that you vote in are the ones that decide the state. This tells me that there are not enough men actively involved in their state politics. Honestly, this should have never even made it to the desk of the whoever proposed this. He should lose his job. He should lose his position, because for them to think that look, I say this thing about prosecutors. When you want to get your numbers up, you just go after men. When you want to get your arrest records up, men tend to do the most crime though, but if you want to get your numbers
the most physical crime, not the most crime.
Physical crime. Yeah, good correction. So if you want to get your numbers up, you go after people in these urban communities, and unfortunately they tend to be black men, and that's how black men end up in the system, because of they're actively going into your community to look for you. I don't know why people don't understand this, but it needs to be said out loud. And so that's the same thing with this. When it comes to putting these additional laws or putting things that's in the balance of this retroactive child support, That doesn't make sense to me though, because you should have, or instead of why would you push this law through right now? Why is there's no pushback on this law? And the mere fact that it's signed in the Senate and then people still are not talking about it, Texas, y'all cooked. This law, I promise you, this law is going to get passed though, because for Governor Abbott, I mean, he's been amazing at a lot of things. I think this will probably be the one criticism I have towards him though, but I'm not a Texas resident. So y'all got to figure out on your own. Y'all just and this is why I tell the women that are upset about the if they live in a state that's red and they have a smaller window that they can go to the clinic. You should have voted. You should have been active in your politics. You should have voted the right people in there. I mean, even for Ohio, they have like kind of a liberal take on it because the voters were active and they said they want this type of policy when it comes to baby deletions. Right. This is the same thing with the child support. If you have a problem with this, you should be not making videos. You should be reaching out to your congressional leaders and telling them, do not put this through or you're going to be you're going to lose your seat in the next election cycle. I don't see anybody doing that. I see a lot of people being like, hey, it is what it is. And, marry before you carry. And like the one guy was going to marry the chick and he was doing it right. And he almost got caught up. So this is on men. Men, the reason why it's easy to put child support on you and the reason why you get railroaded in child support and alimony, because you don't fight for anything. We could have changed child support a long time ago. We could have changed alimony laws a long time ago. Men don't fight for it. Men just think it's like, well, it's their problem. They got to deal with it. No, it's everybody's problem. It's every men's problem because they'll have to deal with it at some point or someone will have to go through it.
Yeah, and this is more so people generally speaking don't care about local elections because we're talking about a state-based law, right? Yeah. We know in local elections people don't show up and they don't vote, but they're typically the main ones that's complaining about something. So you kind of make yourself a joke when you don't participate in making the system better that you're complaining about. So no surprise there. I'm gonna wrap a bow on it with this, and then I'll let you land the plane. Child support was created for men who are not taking care of their business. It wasn't created as a tool for you to leverage and extort the guy who didn't want to stay with you.
Which men? Which generation of men?
What, that aren't showing up to the polls? All of them.
No. Which generation?
Across every demographic.
Which generation of men caused the child support that we have today?
Oh man, that's a long, complicated conversation.
The boomers. It was
I was going to say it was the boomers because before that, the family unit was more intact.
Yeah, it was the boomers. Boomers got us in this situation, and because they didn't take care of their kids, we ended up getting the worst version of child support we have today.
Yeah. And our generation, millennials, are the most active parents on the father's side. And that's been proven by the CDC and NBC. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm with you.
One more thing I just thought of. When it came, there was a meme going around that Donald Trump said whoever pays the child support will be the one who gets to claim the kid on their taxes. And I saw so many men jumping for joy for that. I had to look it up, though. I was like, I don't remember Trump saying something like this, but there may be some truth or whatever. And I was like, I couldn't find anything on it, so I'll just let it live. But everyone else was like, yeah, he's finally, we're going to be excited. This is a reason why we voted for Trump, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's a reason and you're an idiot. But secondly, if you want that to be the case, just make it a law. Men are so used to like taking these L's or just getting dumped on by the system. They don't ever think they can change the laws themselves. We vote these people in. We can change these laws. And the funny thing, this retroactive child support is actually 7 states have this law. And, California is one of them, but several of these states have this law in place anyways. So that just tells me men have already said, hey, it is what it is. So whenever men want to complain about child support, I look at like, okay, who did you guys vote for? And when this became a bill, or actually, forget it. Even if it's on the books, you can still have your person, your Congress, your governor. You can still have your governor repeal the bill or put up a different law in place. You can definitely do that. A lot of these elected officials do not do it though, because they know they'll get the backlash from the women. But there's more men. Well, I want to say there's more men in the world, but depending on the state though, it might be ran by women. But honestly, I think it's more of a penalty tax that men have on each other, though, because they're like, well, you're not taking care of your kid, so you should have to pay child support or something. And it's to some degree, I understand that, though. But it's like, at what point is this too much? Are they pushing for too much? And also, child support doesn't work the way like people think it does. Like the mom gets some of the money, and the state gets other money, and then also they nickel and dime the fathers with additional fees in that whole process. But again,
it's a racket, and we haven't even gotten to the attorneys that's making bank off of all of this family pain.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too. Yeah, the family attorneys and everything. Yeah, it's one big racket, but there needs to be a Doge for the child support system, but they got other problems. And honestly, though, this isn't only a big deal for men that are being careless and they don't want to take care of their they don't want to be active in their state's politics, though. So yeah, to your point, if people aren't voting locally, this is what you get and this is what you deserve. And again, that's why I tell the women that live in red states and they don't like the abortion laws.
Shout out to all the people that's contributing to the attorneys' Maybach vehicles and 3-acre houses, mansions, man. Y'all making them rich.
Facts.
Man, y'all making them rich.
All right. Next topic.
Like really fat, or
you're not built like us. Guys can say shit to each other and guys are like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I got to fucking get my shit together. And women are just weak. So you say something, women are fragile. And here's they're also,
no, fucking stupid.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of truth to that. Women are,
oh my God.
Women are weaker and dumber than men.
Weaker and dumb, or emotionally intelligent?
No. Women, in a lot of ways, you could just say women are pathetic. And so when you have to speak honestly, you have to talk to a woman like you would a child. Hey, sugar and a lot of carbs, they actually aren't that good for you. Unless you're going to expend a lot of energy. I think I might get into some tuna. Something like that.
I hate you so much.
But it's not your fault. It's really just being a woman.
Okay, thank you. Bye now. Would you tell me if I...
All right. Interesting conversation where I think most people or most men know this, and they've had this some version of this conversation, though. But when he says women are dumb, I got to push back on that, though. And it's only because women they've had men throw their lives away and then they don't even care. A woman will burn down her family because you know what? Hey, I want to do something different. I want to go be myself. I want to live my truth. Like they'll blow up their whole family just to do silly stuff like that. And they will find another dude who she'll tell him his whole story. And then they still take her anyways. So when he says they're dumb, I don't think they're dumb. I think they know how to play their spots. They know how to emotionally manipulate, because at this point, they're physically not going to dominate us. But when it comes to like getting these clowns locked up, and how many men have lost their lives because of a woman's lie, plenty. We may have been victims ourselves, and we know people that were victims. And then over the test of time, there's plenty of stories where a woman's lie has changed the world. A la I forgot his name. Oh, Emmett Till. There we go. I don't know why I blanked on that. Emmett Till. So
she waited until right before she died to admit that she lied on him.
Yeah, and nothing's going to happen to her. Nothing's going to happen to the family legacy. Not going to pay any type of reparations. Ellen of Troy. I'm trying to think of some other. Oh, the woman that says she saw a baby cross the road, the orange baby or whatever, the brick lady. They'll tell all these lies, face no repercussions. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a smart one.
Tons of stories.
What's that?
So, full disclosure for the people that are unfamiliar with this podcast, they're husband and wife, and they're both comedians, and they talk to each other like this all the time. So
I kind of picked up on that.
I say all this to say, yeah, they're definitely husband and wife. No, I don't think women are dumb, but I also think that you can't talk to them the same way you talk to men. He kind of made a statement that he said women are children in essence. And I don't know if you remember Mr. Let Go. He used to say that all the time. And what I've
Yeah,
learned is
yeah, I bet.
he may have, I don't know. Somebody said it, but
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that men code switch around women 9 times out of 10 because they have to. Look, if me and you got an issue, I'm gonna hit you and I'm gonna say, hey, man, that was kind of some whole shit, man. And hopefully, if you're a man of reason and logic, you're going to listen, and maybe you might agree, or maybe you might slightly agree, but at least you can have the conversation. You can't talk to a woman like that. If she's slipping up on something, you can make the point, but you have to present it differently. You got to kind of sugarcoat it a little bit. Hey, I don't appreciate the way you handle this. Let's talk about it. Like, and that's not generally how we deal with each other. He gave the example of a friend who was getting fat, right? And I've lost 30 pounds in the last year. And people like you and another mutual friend that we have were quick to remind me that I was picking up some pounds, right? So, but it wasn't a big deal to me because that's just how we talk to each other. Now, how many husbands, I know plenty of husbands who will tell me privately that their wives are getting too fat for them to be attracted to them, but they can't tell them because they know that they'll overreact and get hypersensitive and start overreacting about it. So
Or to take shots
you
at you.
they might, yeah. And again, we can't talk to each other the same way, and that's kind of where the communication gets lost.
Yeah. I think some men can get away with, having that. Like, obviously with these folks, they can do it. But men do have to get to a point where they got to stop being afraid of the consequences, because what's going to happen is that it's going to mess up. Like, think of you got an employee working for you, and you're too afraid to tell that employee or check that employee, like, hey, you're fucking up. You got to do something different, or you got to make some changes. Well, you don't say anything. Well, you're going to lose some business, and you potentially waste people's time. And then, essentially you can get fired. And so, I've been in relationships where I was just trying to be the nice guy and trying to be like, hey, let me say it this way. No, I'm just going to be a little more direct about some things. And people don't like it. People don't like it, though. Like, because I think men do have to get back to the, having those frank conversations, because most women, that are confident in themselves, and they negotiate they don't have a problem negotiating their salaries. They know who they are. They carry themselves in a like in a professional manner, and they can have like the conversations with anybody. The majority of women cannot do stuff like that, and because of stuff like that, that impacts the those types of dialogues between between the sexes. And so they're expecting everyone to kiss their ass. But see, the problem is that they don't respect you when you do stuff like that. They don't want you kissing their ass. I mean, they want
We
you
got
to.
the perfect example with Kevin Samuels. Remember, they used to always say it was his delivery, not the message.
Yeah, they're like, well, if you say it a little bit different, there have been plenty of men that have said it differently, or said it. I mean, Derek Jackson for one, and they still end up in heartbreak, or they still don't get the results that they're looking for. So you either got to be okay with delivering that information, and I think it's more so in the men to start doing that stuff collectively versus women starting to understand, like, hey, this is. You shouldn't be talking to me like that, and I'm gonna go to HR, blah blah blah. Like, no, this is the thing. Like, in general, I just gotta tell you the truth, and I'm not saying be completely mean about it. You definitely gotta use your words, but you have to be able to like deliver that message in a frank manner, but also like you're talking to a guy, though, because the more you sugarcoat, the more you dance around it, the more the message gets lost or bastardized, because you're too afraid to like hurt feelings. When it comes to like firing people, the funny thing is, when it comes to like firing people, and it's generally going to be HR, it's going to be a woman, they have no problem telling people the truth.
Ain't
They
got
have
no
no
choice
problem.
in that situation. No choice at all.
Yeah.
I look, when you talk to women, you have to make it an emotional conversation. And I'm not an overly emotional person, but I have to like throw words in like I feel, or that makes me feel. But I don't have to do that with the fellas. I just make my point and they gotta deal with it. We're
Mhm.
more direct. We get to the point. You can have a man and a woman tell the exact same story, and the man can probably tell that story in 5 minutes, and she can make it into a 10 or 15-minute
Yeah, it has
conversation.
been experience.
Yeah, and that's just the differences. I don't expect women to process things the same way that we do. I've made peace with that a long time ago. Yeah, my wife told me on multiple occasions, I've seen how you and your friends talk to each other. I don't want none of that smoke. And I get it. When you're dealing with other men, you gotta have thick skin and you can't be sensitive.
Yeah.
They don't
And
operate like that.
and to your point about how women talk to each other, what I've been seeing lately happen is the men acting like that. And I get it, black men's health,
Yeah.
black men need to, they hurt as well too. I get all that stuff though. Unfortunately, for all of you men, nobody gives a damn. Nobody's going to make any changes. And again, this is men in general, black, white, Asian. I mean, Asians got the high mortality rate. I don't see anybody going over there help those guys suicide rate. I don't see anybody going over there and talking to their communities because nobody cares. So as much as, I think there is a conversation to be discussed when it comes to like the mental health and everything. Find your group, but it's not going to be online. It just isn't. You got to talk to men in person. You got to be around men so you can boss up. Because when you try to have these conversations online, and I've seen plenty, and groups that we're in, and then other groups when they start going down the path of men's health, and nobody's listening to us, blah blah blah. I'm like, no one is ever going to listen to you, and people just giving you these simple answers. They're not helpful as well either. We're doing exactly what we're doing to the women by patronizing them and making it sound like you should feel seen, you should feel valid. Like nobody cares about any of that stuff. They care about honestly, it's what you can do for them. That's just what it is. That's the name of the game. So as much as I would like people to have an open and honest conversation about mental health, and then the way we can talk to each other, it's just not going to be possible though, because not everyone's going to run on that. Everybody runs on men, you got to do this for me or you ain't shit, but nobody's going to run on hey, women, you need to be able to do this, like, because we got too many simp enforcers out there that will just let it pass. They'll just say, hey, she's a girl, or a woman, it's her, she's telling the truth probably. Let's look into us, or pull back a little, like blah blah blah. Like I don't know why men push themselves to do stuff like that though, but we got enough evidence to show that we should not be doing stuff like that, and we should be having like honest conversations with each other without people like trying to play some narrative or whatnot.
Yeah. And my challenge to any woman who's listening right now, when you're talking with your man, ask him, how much do you censor yourself around me? How much do you bite your tongue or sugarcoat things when you're talking to me? You might be a little amazed with that answer because it's more often than you think. I'm fortunately in a space where I don't have to walk around on eggshells anymore, but I know too many men who are still struggling with that and they can't speak up and they just want to keep the peace. But no, sometimes you got to have the battle because otherwise it's just going to fester up and you're just going to be frustrated. Whatever the
Yeah.
issue is, you got to deal with it.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that at the beginning too. When you get into relationships, trying to set boundaries, and it's like, well, why'd you say this in your group text? I'm like, don't read my group text. It's going to hurt your feelings.
Yes, it is. Though that's when the dog comes out for most of us, and you don't want none of that smoke. Just no, and stop trying to be masculine too, because it's not a flex. It's really not. I know y'all want to act tough, but y'all still women at the end of the day. You can't take the heat, and I'm gonna need you fellas to get back to your masculine and learn how to take feedback and criticism without getting in your feelings.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, but good luck to y'all out there.
Good luck.
All right, next topic.
And a lot of times we don't talk about how women date their sons. And single mothers oftentimes do everything but their sons. And that's the reason why I say, a single mother is a boy factory. And the reason why I say that is because it's not that a boy can't be birthed from a two-parent home, although it is, it's an abnormality, it's an anomaly of sorts that you would encounter a significant amount of subpar men that have been raised in instructive two-parent homes. But single women become so emotionally dependent upon their children, specifically their sons, that they will convince themselves that they don't need a man until they encounter the space from being alone to genuinely being lonely. And now we're having to deal with the imbalance that was set in the household because this boy is not your son. He is your man. When you want to cuddle, you go lay down with him. When you want some.
Jeez.
The makings of a son husband.
This is 100% talking about Jaden Daniels. Holy crap.
I'm still the jury's still out on that one, but I know a lot of men.
Oh, word? Okay.
So,
keep talking.
Yeah, I'm not all the way sold on that situation, but what I do know is this. So imagine that you're a young man, right? And you have a mother who is putting husband obligations on you because she couldn't find one. She chose wrong too many times. So she starts putting the oldest son in that position. Hey, watch your siblings while I go to work. Hey, keep this house clean. Cook dinner for your siblings. She's basically giving you all the obligations that come with being a husband, but none of the benefits, right? You don't get the praises. You ain't clapping no cheeks. Because it's your mom, obviously.
Ew.
And she essentially using you for emotional support. So what happens with these young men, typically as they get older, they associate being with a woman / marriage as a bad thing because all they see is the obligations. They don't see any of those benefits. So in essence, your mother has completely ruined marriage for you. You don't have a positive thought about it because your mom ruined it for you. You think it's going to be somebody who acts like her and put you through all the things that she put you through. So by the time you do get your freedom, you want it so bad that you never want to give it up. And I think there's a lot of son husbands out there who suffer because of that. Plus, on top of that, you didn't have a male influence in your house. So you don't really know how to problem solve correctly. You don't know how to think things through logically. You don't know how to practice stoicism like most men should be able to practice. So there's all kinds of disadvantages with this son husband thing.
Yeah, I just connected these. The reason why a lot of men have to talk to women in a certain, childish or, a completely different way is because a lot of them are raised by their moms. And then the majority of teachers are women. And so they're always telling you how to talk to people, talk about your feelings and talk about what how to treat women, but they're never talking to you. I mean, they only say that they say it in general, but men don't operate like that. Men don't talk to each other like that. Men don't say like, hey, here, my feelings are hurt because of, X, Y, Z or blah, blah. Men don't talk like that, but that actually makes sense though. Now that why we have so many men that actually do it because they're already Simpson training for the most part.
Pretty much,
or
yeah.
son husbands in training. But anyways, I want to share this. I want to share this screen real quick though. It's our favorite son husband, Jaden Daniels. Now, this looks like I think it's for, I forget the player, Ichu, or I forget the player's wedding he's at. All right, this obviously Jaden Daniels. A lot of young people here. Having fun. Enjoying. Hey! Is that Juju? Is that Juju right there?
That is, oh man.
Is that Juju?
All right.
Oh, that ain't Juju.
You may be convincing me to come over to the dark side on this one. I'm
Hey.
You sure that ain't Juju? I feel like that's Juju right there.
You might be convincing me to change my argument on this.
I don't know.
Is he the my mom is my best friend ninjas?
He might be. He might be. Oh, it was Brandu Ayuk, whatever that guy's name is. Yeah, he was at his wedding. So yeah,
Man.
so back to the son husband thing.
I was neutral about it before, but I think you might. Oh man, you might be right.
Look, I understand you might bring your agent with you because that's his agent technically. I just understand
To a wedding.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a business move. Like I can give the business side. You can make a business out of it. I just don't understand if it's not for business. Why are you there? Who else is going to sign? Who else is saying like, hey, Jaden, I want your mom to be my agent? Nobody's saying that. So it's not for business. So what is she doing there? I don't get it, man. This is
Yeah.
wild to me, and it's definitely son husband in training, because I don't ever see her. I mean, and she does have a fiance or a boyfriend or something. I don't ever see no pictures of her and that dude. It's always when Jaden is in the screen, his mom ain't too far from it. And so, and we just talked about the whole Juju situation again. I think they kind of look alike, but we just talked about that, and you know, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, and it's one of those things that's going to turn those storylines like why black boys need their moms or whatever. If Jaden Daniels hadn't turned into who he is, I mean, we would never hear about his mom. His mom would never have a footnote in history. But because Jaden Daniels is who he is, his mom is getting all this crazy praise, and it's unhealthy at that, though, because I don't care what anybody says. Like, you're not supposed to be hanging out with your mom at this wedding unless it's like a family friend or something. I understand that, but she don't know anybody there like that. This is Jaden's time to, like, you know, have fun, cut loose, and relax a little. You can't be doing that when your mom. I mean, here's the thing: if his mom
And go
was
strike
like,
up a conversation with a young lady.
yeah, and if his mom was like at the bar or somewhere else, okay, fine. Then she's there, but she's not trying to be all up in the picture. Why is this the picture that goes viral? Why is this the video that goes viral? Because she's trying to glam off of his shine, and she's also, like, again, just trying to make it seem like it's normal to be a son husband. It's not. Like, usually most men grow out of it, but Jane Daniels.
You think that's the only reason why that went viral? You don't think the fact that she's an attractive woman has nothing to do with it at all?
Look, I get that she's, you know, she could pass as Juju's mom, but it stops right there, though. It's just one of those things where she's crossing the line. She's just a little too involved. Just be the agent. What's so hard about just being the agent? You don't have to be seen. Like, I know who Rich Paul is, and I barely see Rich Paul trending. And Rich Paul is like, the most I've seen Rich Paul is when he got with what's her face, Adele. That's the most I ever see of Rich Paul, when he got with Adele. And then most of the time, I don't even see Rich Paul around. He doesn't take all these pictures. He's not big on social media like that. He's in the background, just doing deals, making deals. That's what he does. And then I forgot to tell you the other guy who was a Rosenhaus, Drew Rosenhaus.
Yeah, Drew Rosenhaus.
I barely know what that guy looks like, but you know, when it comes to her, we know exactly who she is, what she looks like, and yeah, she's trending. But this is bad for Jaden, and it speaks to the whole point about women, single moms treating their sons, or giving that love to their sons, and I think it's more of a black thing, honestly, because what I see on the white side is that they do it with dogs or pets. So that love that they would give towards a man, they do it with dogs and pets. I mean, both sides like animals and everything, but when it comes to, like, you know, replacing that love that you would have for another human, it gets transferred to their pets, is what I've seen happen most of the time. Because quite frankly, honestly, I know a lot of white guys that have cussed their moms out.
Yeah. The black thing is interesting because if we're being completely honest, our community is matriarchal. It's probably one of the only ones that is, and it shows. It shows, man. Like, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, but y'all raised these ninjas that y'all complaining about.
Yeah.
In the dating market, y'all collectively raised them.
Yep.
Yeah, and say what you want to, you've been the head of the house.
Yep.
So it falls on you. And that's what most men understand that y'all don't. I know that I'm the head of my house, and most things, if they go wrong, that falls on me.
Yeah.
But I had to figure this out on my own because I was raised by mostly women too. So I had to take my own manhood journey and click up with the right mentors and read the right books, talk to the right people. But every man doesn't figure that out until it's way too late. So now you got a bunch of over emotional, not able to problem solve dudes running around that can't deal with any real problems. The only thing they know how to do is lash out in violence because that's their only escape.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you got to grow out of that. You got to learn how to problem solve stuff with your words and your mind.
Yeah. And we are actually seeing that happen with a couple high profile cases where men have lashed out. Like, I know people got upset when, you know, and I'll just talk about this briefly. I know men got upset when they saw, black men in particular got upset when they saw Matt Walsh say young black men are pretty dangerous, or I'm paraphrasing, but he said something about young black men being very dangerous. And to some point, I understand why he's saying that. I understand why people are upset that he said that, though. But, considering some of the things that have occurred when it comes to like problem solving, and then you get into an argument, and then instead of like just walking away or just, fisticuffs, it turns deadly. And it's a bit unfortunate, though, because you not only lose the person that lost their life, but typically the person that took the life is going to lose her life. And both people have lost their sons or their daughters, because we're starting to see. I don't think I've ever saw so much violence from women occur until like in the last 5 years. Because and maybe it's always been occurring, but when it's trending, it's just some really weird shit, though, because I'm not used to like seeing women just battle it out. Sometimes they're battling against men. Like, that makes no sense to me. And
It's nothing new to me, TR. So I have a cousin, and she beats on her child's father. Like, there's no other way to describe it. To the point where one of my other cousins, who's known for fighting, told her, if he hits you back, I'm not doing anything, because he saw firsthand the disrespect. I'm talking about close-handed fist, spitting on him, kicking him. Mind you, this is the father of her children. They're married. It's just like, whoa, what are we doing here? But the women in abuse thing is kind of the unspoken conversation, because they're typically viewed as the weaker vessels. But you can find tons and tons of footage of women, and it doesn't have to be physical. It could be verbal abuse. It could be mental abuse. They could abuse you by withholding sex from you if you're married. That's a form of abuse, because they use it as manipulation.
Yep.
So there's all types of abuse, and men just gotta become men again and realize, like, hey, you playing me right now, but I'm not the one. But without proper men leading them and guiding them to manhood, this is going to continue to be a problem.
Yeah, and people are going to be looking out for outlets such as the subreddit, the marriage group and the dating group, because there's some interesting conversations that occur, but man, y'all, oh man, it's terrible. The dead bedrooms and all that stuff, though. So yeah, men are definitely hurting, but at the end of the day, men have to decide, what type of life they're going to want, because a woman can decide, the wife can just say, hey, you know what, this isn't working for me, or I've been feeling like I've been wanting to divorce you for the last 5 years, but still stayed in the marriage, and then they finally leave. But men, there's some sense of I guess embarrassment if it happens to you. Like, no, sometimes you do have to leave a marriage if the woman is being disrespectful, or it's a dead bedroom situation. That's not your cross to bear. That you shouldn't have to deal with stuff like that. But men, they deal with it until the woman files those papers, and they're like, I don't know what happened. Like, I was reading another story. I was reading a story where a woman had cheated, and the guy was, I don't know what I should do. And everybody's like, what do you mean you think you should do? At least I can say, when it comes to stuff like that, people are pretty direct about what you should do versus trying to sugarcoat and be nice about it. But I don't know, there's something about men in general that need to start understanding that, hey, if you're not being treated correctly in your relationship, there's nothing wrong with leaving, and then don't fall for the tricks of like, hey, I'm gonna give you some candy, and hopefully we can look past it. No, it'll happen again. It always happens again.
I always say, sex ain't an apology, and neither is the sloppy toppy. That's not an apology. Of course, she's probably gonna take it if she's offering, but don't for a minute think that that's an apology. You need to hold her accountable to what she did or said. That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree, and hopefully, I actually, honestly, what were we just talking about? Were we talking about son husbands?
We went from son husbands to this pivot. Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to figure out how do we get back to the original topic?
Well, we started there, and we talked about how our community is matriarchal, and under a woman's leadership. Like, women can't raise men. They think they can, but they can't. At best, you can teach him how to treat a woman. That's about it. But A man has to be taught by another man. It doesn't work any other way.
Yeah, no, that's a 1,000% true. And also, I guess for Jaden, he's gonna live his life and do whatever he wants, blah blah blah. But this could end bad though, and just like the whole thing with Eli Apple and his mom, I think this will be bad. You know, your mom should never be going viral. I think your mom can, show up in a couple pictures, like by her house, by her car, and even if she's your agent, I mean, I don't think they should be going viral. Lamar Jackson, his mom is his agent, still his agent, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what she even looks like, and that's what I think that's how it should be. Most of the time, I don't think we should know what your wife looks like, what your kids look like. I guess you can post it, but again, most of these folks aren't active on social media like that, though. But in this case, she's all over the place. She's always trending, and I think that's just bad for business ultimately, though. But time will tell.
The fact that you even said that she has a fiance and he's not posted up with her, that's a little odd, but it is what it is, I guess.
All right, last topic.
Like I was saying, your favorite league, the WNBA, they had their drafts. Future looks bright, right, TR? What are your thoughts?
The WNBA may actually be one of those gems that just keeps on giving, though, because there's so much dialogue outside of Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark is a big deal in the WNBA. Should be a big deal, but this draft, there's like a bunch of conversations. There's a couple of things that we need to have like a quick discussion on. So real quick, Paige Buchers went number 1, and then I don't know who any of these other players are, but Haley Van Leith, and she's going to Chicago Sky. So Paige is going to the Dallas Wings, and Haley Van Leith is going to the Sky, though. And the Sky is very important, though, because Haley actually played with Angel Reese back at LSU, but then Haley, I think she switches a school every year. So if Haley's on your team, you're probably not going to win the championship, just FYI. But Angel Reese was super happy.
Like the transfer portal for that.
Yeah. So Angel Reese was super happy about that. But I don't know if Haley, I don't know if that's going to be a good combination with Haley and Angel, because if you watch any of Angel's games, which I don't, but I see the highlights, it's a lot of putbacks occurring on that team, though. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pair well, though, because it just got a new coach too. But Paige Buchers, I think the WNBA loves that she was the number 1 pick because she's checking all the boxes. She's super woke and has a big social media personality, and she's on the Scissors team. So she is definitely.
I can't say that's surprising.
Yeah, she's definitely, well, I should say allegedly, but if I can find this picture or this video, you'll see why I say allegedly. Your thoughts, MC?
I think she's probably going to be better than Caitlin Clark, and I think a lot of heads are going to explode when that happens because everybody worships her. But
hold on. You think Haley?
You heard it here first.
Paige? You think Paige is going to surpass Caitlin Clark in like what? Attention? Basketball?
She's going to be just as good. I don't know about surpass. But she is going to be just as good.
Man,
did you see her play in that national championship game? She owned that game.
Yeah, but she's going to the Dallas Wings, and I don't think they're trending for anything, honestly.
People weren't trending for anything before she got there. They sucked.
That's a good point.
Did they even make the playoffs? This is the most we've ever talked about the W. But I'm just a fan of basketball as a whole. She's going to have the same effect there that Caitlin Clark had in Indiana. But what we do know is going to happen is the WNBA is going to fumble this somehow. For some reason, they struggle with marketing their players. I don't know why.
I don't think they will. Here's why. Look, this is okay. You know me. I hate the pantsuit. I hate it with a passion. I don't know when it became fashionable. Like, I mean, I guess Hillary made it fashionable, but I dislike the pantsuit. And here we are. And I don't care what these people, I don't care how they scissors. I don't care how they fence, what side of the fence they are on. But this is, I forget.
TR, not to cut you off, but look at that picture on there on the right in the comments.
Yeah, I
look
just
at that
saw it.
gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually her teammate. Her name is Azzy something. Aussie or something. I forget her name.
You
but
can't make this up.
Azzy Fudd. There we go. Azzy. Yes, Azzy Fudd. So there was actually a video where Caitlin Clark, Paige had just got drafted. She went over and talked to Azzy Fudd, and she was already, and Paige was mic'd up. And she goes and tells her, like, sits down and like, hey, I'm mic'd up, so be careful what you say. Like, I know that can mean anything, but after seeing stuff like this, dude, I'm telling you right now, the WNBA, they have a potential. They're going to have an issue with their players hooking up with each other because Azzy Fudd got drafted also to the Dallas Wings as well too. So they drafted your girlfriend. Is that why she got drafted? So you want to make Paige happy. So if Paige wants to be happy, you draft her girlfriend too. Like they're going to have a big issue with the players dating each other or dating the competition though, because this actually happened with Caitlin Clark, where one of her teammates in the playoffs was supposed to be guarding or had a very lackluster play. And I don't know if she was, sandbagging or if she was just out of it, whatever the case is. But she was actually dating one of the teammates that they were playing against in the playoffs. And that chick, as soon as she was over, they cut her. They're like, you're gone. So I don't know if they cut her because of her poor performance. I don't know if she's even drafted. It was like Neliasa or something. But they cut her. So she's no longer on that team, though. But it's pretty rampant that these WNBA players are hooking up with each other. And I know people might think, well, it's a big deal. Well, ask who's the chick that can get picked up? Sedona Prince. Ask her.
Yeah.
Ask her why it's like a big deal.
Yeah, I was going to bring that story up too, and for those of you, and I know a lot of y'all don't watch the WNBA, but if you look into Sedona Prince, she's got some accusations against her that are noteworthy.
Hey,
so much so that she didn't even get drafted.
Don't be nice about it. To tell the folks.
I'm trying to be mindful of YouTube when I say that. If this is just us talking personally, I'd say yeah, she put hands on at least allegedly she put hands on at least 3 or 4 different women. Yeah. And one of the women allegedly accused her of forceful entry without consent. Yep. So you wrap your brains around that, how another woman can accuse a woman of something like that. You'll figure it out eventually. But the point is she's very talented. I do think she's going to end up in this league at some point. She's talented. She can play. Yeah, she wasn't drafted, but somebody's going to give her a shot. She's going to play.
Sedona Prince?
Yes. Absolutely.
Man, hold up though. So, because I had to see, the funny thing about the WNBA.
Hold on, before you go, I'm gonna land on this since we're talking about Sedona. This puts the WNBA in a position where you have to choose, and this is the same decision the NFL, the NBA, they all had to make. You got to choose between talent or your morals. Do you want to put the best product out there, or are you gonna make a stand? Which one is it? Because we know in these other leagues that I just discussed, they gave them ways back into the league just because of how talented they was. So now WNBA, for lack of a better term, balls in your court.
I don't know how they're gonna make Sedona because they sent a message that she was not going to get drafted. She might go to international. Look at these. Like, honestly, I don't know this was a thing with Sedona Prince. Since 2019, Prince has been accused by 4 women. 4 women of either assault or sexual assault. What the? One of Prince's former partners filed and later dropped a lawsuit against her, accusing her. Man, I don't know if I've ever seen a woman essay another woman like multiple
times. I'm glad
times.
you said that, TR, because another thing we got to talk about is which relationships have the highest rates of violence.
Oh, yeah. I know the folks are going to be like, well, it's going to be men. It's scissors on scissors.
It's the lesbians have the highest rates of violence against each other.
Yeah, see, and I want to make sure so people don't think I'm capping because we try to be like pretty like when we were talking about everybody else, we were having the conversation and make sure we deliver the message. But here, Prince was asked two women who later accused her of DV to sign a NDA. That sounds a little Diddy-ish to me. According to police records and an ex-girlfriend, Prince also threatened legal action against women who have spoken about her on social media. Come on, man. Like one of Prince's former girlfriend. How many bitches this chick got? God damn. Olivia Stable posted a series of TikTok videos. We might have to revisit this. Prince of physical and verbal abuse, included in the posts, where accusations of Prince shoving her to the ground and threatening to sue Stable if you were to go public about the incident. Prince stated the allegations are false, defamatory, misleading. No charges have been filed. A change petition called to have Prince removed from the roster collected over 164,000 signatures. So she still stayed on the team. And then, she had a black eye. Come on, man. In January 2025, Prince's ex-girlfriend involved in a physical altercation. Prince sustained a black eye. Ultimately, Fort Worth police stated that the only evidence consistent with both accounts is that there was a physical altercation. Both parties sustained minimal injuries. So this chick is okay with putting hands on chick. And I want to be fair too, because whenever this happens to a man, we got to be mindful of, like, did it really happen? Do we have any evidence? This is a history of evidence that are accusations from other women, not to mention signing NDAs. I think Deshaun Watson, I think he had an NDA situation and they threw that out the window. Like, the NDAs are not as super tight.
Yeah.
They're not as super tight as they used to be. And you can ask Diddy about, how NDAs work nowadays.
You can ask Trump about those too, because the old girl had one and she got to talking. It sounds like essentially they don't mean anything. Stormy, that was her name.
Yeah.
Going back to the WNBA, look, you got some names now, right? Because Paige is going to have a following. Paige can ball. Juju eventually is going to get up in there too. And they got even more names coming down the pipe. So the women's game itself is getting better. That being said, y'all still took a loss this year. Despite claiming y'all had the highest viewership and ticket sales, you still lost $40 million. And Commissioner Adam Silver, that article I just posted, TR, has already come out and said it's going to be years before you see the WNBA start to make a profit. Years. So that means that they're going to keep profit. Yeah, they're going to keep getting subsidized by the NBA while they're complaining about men. That's the message I got from that. But again, you're in an interesting space, WNBA. How are you going to market these people? How are you going to increase your revenues? Especially when Angel Reese just said in an interview a couple of months ago that they're going to start pushing back again about higher salaries while taking losses as a
Angel Reese just had on her podcast, she just had a conversation with Chesan Rock or Krishan Rock, whatever that chick's name is. She just had a conversation with her, said, hey, you do the same thing as LeBron James. You should be making the same amount. And man, the delusion on a lot of these players is mind-blowing to me. The only one that's going to be able to make the highest amount of money and it'll never be close to LeBron James is pretty much going to be Caitlin Clark. I don't know where they're going to get the money from, but it's not even close. Like, you better work on those endorsement deals. So in the the funny thing about the WNBA, they said they had the second most viewed WNBA draft of all time. Double these numbers, and this is what they had last year when the Caitlin Clark was there. So I don't know why they want to say like second most and everything. Like, I mean, I guess you want to highlight, you want to show progress though, but it's not progress though, because even though these numbers are pretty high, it's still pretty low compared to like what really happened. Like, they had to say 2023 because if they said 2024, they would have looked stupid, because the 2024 numbers were out of this world. And I want to say Elle Duncan tried to carry water for ESPN and explain the numbers. Like, no, if you guys hate Caitlin Clark, just say that. Like, you got to show what the numbers look like and show the growth. Like, don't try to omit it. And that's the problem with a lot of these. When you try to have these conversations about, the WNBA, the new players, and Caitlin Clark, they try to like omit stuff. So they take a shot at Caitlin Clark. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of Caitlin Clark by any means. I do enjoy seeing some of her highlights, and she did bend the knee to the woke mob. But however, she has been impactful to the game, and a lot of women have been getting paid because of Caitlin Clark. And also in that draft class from last year, I feel like that's probably one of the best draft classes we've seen, though, because that honestly was a bunch of very feminine women that were drafted. Like there are some WNBA players I know just because of, they look good in a skirt. Like, I'm going to be respectful about that. Like they look great in a skirt instead of the whole pantsuit. And so if you have like Paige Buchers, which again, the WNBA is going to wrap their arms around her, she may be, who they, put all the marketing behind, but she'll never come close to Caitlin Clark when it comes of like the draw, as well as the, I don't think she'll get the basketball numbers either, because, she's going the Dallas wing. So maybe she'll thrive there though. But Caitlin Clark's going to be on a whole nother level.
They're definitely trying to make her the messiah of the league. And if we're looking at this bias, which ESPN should be doing, but we already know that they're biased. Viewership was up because of Caitlin Clark. We know that Angel Reese has a stronger social media presence. I personally see the value in both, but let's be honest, Caitlin Clark is the one everybody was jumping on her back. And again, you would think that the WNBA would recognize that. And I'm talking about the players. I know the league does. That you would think the players would recognize that and say, girl, go out here, do your thing, bring some more money into this league so we can all get paid. Everybody eats, B. But they're not looking at it like that.
No.
They just want me and mine right now for me and my wife at home.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the average ticket sales for Caitlin Clark, the game, because those ticket sales are through the roof. Like anybody that plays Caitlin Clark, you're going to get a ton of tickets or ticket revenue. And that's exactly what you want. But some of these dumbass WNBA owners, again, this just tells me anybody can run a WNBA franchise, because the majority of them, they should be, moving all their games. If you have a small stadium or arena, move it to a bigger arena, because when Caitlin Clark fans travel. That's the other thing too. They travel. They want to see her play, and no other player has a fan base just like this. Angel Reese might have a fan base, but they don't buy her jersey. They don't watch her games. They barely tune into her podcast. So, and same thing with Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink, she has an okay podcast. They say some interesting things on there, but I ain't watching Cameron Brink just because she has a good podcast. I'm watching Cameron Brink because Cameron Brink is gorgeous, in my opinion.
I ain't gonna argue that. And I couldn't find ticket price stuff either, but what I did find, Sports Illustrated reported that the Indiana Fever, because of the Caitlin Clark effect, their average attendance went from 4,000 to 17,000 during the 2024 season. So something's happening there. And her jersey sales over the season, I'm talking about Caitlin Clark again, jersey sales for the Indiana Fever, this is all from Sports Illustrated, increased by 264%. Mostly Caitlin Clark jerseys.
Yeah. I found
you gotta go where the money train is, man. Get the bag.
Yeah. You gotta
that's what y'all be complaining about all these times. So why not follow the money?
Yeah. And so I found something about the ticket sales. According to Ticketmaster, the getting price is at $250, but courtside resold for $5,000 a piece. This is the Caitlin Clark against Paige game. Like Paige might
that.
Yeah. See, again, Paige, again, I just like the pantsuit, and Paige is a good baller. But at the end of the day, though, this is Caitlin Clark's league. The league just doesn't want to give it to her because she doesn't check enough boxes. Caitlin Clark is definitely woke, but she's not on the scissors team. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think she's forced woke, TR. There's two types of woke. There's the woke because you are, and there's the woke because they forced you to be.
Hey, all I heard was woke. Like Caitlin Clark, she can pretty much do anything. She could do anything she wants. I wouldn't mind. So I wouldn't mind getting a pair of her shoes for my daughter, but her shoes haven't come out yet. I can remember the last time where there was a top athlete who got a mega shoe deal whose shoes haven't come out yet.
Yeah, that's trash.
Now I will say, Asia Wilson, her shoes are actually pretty nice though. So I actually might get her a pair of those. Because I mean the shoes are nice. Like I'm not gonna disrespect her just because it's Asia Wilson. Like I barely know what team Asia Wilson plays on, but I know Asia Wilson does numbers. I've seen her numbers. I know she's, maybe underrated on the league, but that's the WNBA's fault. That's not the fault of the fans, especially Caitlin Clark's fans. That's not their fans. You should be embracing the new fans you're getting in there. And then also you should be embracing the Caitlin Clark effect. So that's definitely on them if they want to do something a little bit different, but they're terrible at marketing their top players, and especially if you're not a Lenny Litlicker, they definitely they struggle with it. So, and Asia Wilson's married to a whole black man and has kids, and they don't even promote that. Like, if you don't want to promote Caitlin Clark, start promoting the family values then, but they don't want to do that. So they have different ways to promote it, but they won't do it because of it doesn't fit in line with who their players are versus who's consuming their content. That's the issue. The biggest issue with them.
Yeah. And I've been to a couple of Phoenix Mercury game. More so when Diana Taurasi was a little bit younger, because I think she's retired now. She's also the all-time leading scorer, by the way. So the Mercury aren't as competitive these days, but I can say that tickets were pretty cheap. But the experience was cool. It was a good time, going there and checking them out. I think the lowest I've seen them was $30. But yeah, man, they got to get on with this Caitlin Clark effect. But I think Paige is going to be just as good, if not better. They have kind of similar games to me. Actually, I think Paige is a little bit more athletic, but they have very similar games. So maybe that'll turn into a rivalry. And if it does, they need to push it good, like Salt and Pepper says.
Yeah, I honestly, the rivalry that I do like is Angel Reese. Now, it's not more for the basketball, it's just for the online discourse that occurs though, because Angel Reese, I don't think Angel Reese is a bad person by any means. I think Angel Reese is trying to figure out how to play a part, but also I feel like Angel Reese doesn't have the right people to help elevate her brand, because Angel Reese, I mean, she does have a lot of brand endorsements. She got the cereal and she has a McDonald's, so they're doing something. But I feel like Angel Reese should be I feel like she should be a little more popular than what she is right now, though, with multiple groups. Because right now, the only people I see supporting Angel Reese are just thirsty ass black men, like, respectfully. Like, those are the only ones I see that will carry water for Angel Reese.
The B Dubs rock with Angel Reese.
Oh yeah. No, but
her problem is she's black famous. That's the thing, and she's got to become a household name. That's the thing. And there is a such thing. There are people who are black famous, and then there's people who are famous.
You okay?
It happens all the time.
There.
What you mean?
You okay?
I can't make a logical. I like Angel Reese, but I realize everybody doesn't. So
I don't think people don't like. I don't think people dislike Angel Reese because of Angel Reese. Well, because of her game. Angel Reese, I think she's good at what she does. And she should have taken. And I feel like if she wants to take her game to the next level, don't listen to me. But when Shaq was telling her how to elevate her game, I think that's what she should do. And again, this is Shaq telling her how to work on her post up. And I think I forget the chick's name that said it too, that Angel Reese needs to work on her post plays as well too. I think that will take her up to the next level, but also getting her getting her social media presence a little bit under control though, because as much as, like I said, I do like how they're a little more feminine now, but I think when it comes to like being Angel Reese, I think you gotta dial it back with all the booty shots, like, respectfully, because we like it though, but that's not elevating the WNBA. So if I promise you, the WNBA wants to go to the next level with Angel Reese, but they can't do it because they don't know what she's going to do next. Because Angel Reese, she's always responding to comments. She's always like, she goes after Caitlin Clark fans. It's like, stop all that, just elevate your brand and go to the next level, because you're going to make way more money on the off the court stuff than on the court stuff.
So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with Angel. So to me, she reminds me of Ben Wallace, but Ben Wallace is in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, sure.
She's a walking double-double, but she's not known as a scorer. You just talked about how she got the feedback that she needs to work on her post game. She does. And her short range shooting. She needs to work on those two things, but she's got the other pieces. She's can be very physical, and she's going to get you 10 rebounds a night. So
Right.
she's got some stuff to build on, and that's what practice is for. I mean, she's got injuries she's got to push through, but we're going to see how serious she is about doing her part to elevate the league, because she's got a following too. It's not as big as Caitlin Clark's, but she's got one. And now she's got to build out her game and start. If she wins, she'll win over more fans. Is what I'm getting at ultimately.
Yeah, and I think once that was their first year, so hopefully the second year will be a little bit different for them. So I'll definitely be. Actually, I might watch that game with Caitlin Clark and Paige, just because I want to see how they square off. And Paige just came off of, or not came off of, but she had that knee injury, and so it's good that she bounced back and became a #1 pick. I hope she does well, and also I hope that the WNBA doesn't have to worry about some type of various assault or SA situations, though, because that Sedona Prince situation could have easily been a PR nightmare, even though a lot of these, legacy media networks would have tried to cover it up like they did with, but they would cover that up, but they never cover up any issues involving men. And correct me if I'm wrong, and chat, you can do it too. I have yet to hear Malika Andrews talk about Sedona Prince as well, too. Maybe she has. I don't know. But that should have been a conversation for everybody. But nobody wants to talk about Sedona Prince, though. So, and if she does get in the league, that's gonna be huge, though, because it's like, do you really care about women, or are you just trying to win? Which I think you brought that up earlier. They want to win, but I don't think they want to win through Sedona Prince. There's plenty. You got plenty of people you can win through. Sedona Prince is the worst person to win through. Yeah, MC.
Again, I'm curious to see how the WNBA, how long they're going to keep her away. I'm curious to see how long they're going to keep her away, because she's talented enough where she could get in there and she could compete. And I'm going to watch what happens over these next couple of months, because I think she's going to find a way to get into the league.
Honestly, I didn't know anything about Sedona Prince, until it started trending that there was something amiss with her, though. So maybe she will get picked up, though. So only time will tell. Only time will tell, though. So all right. Well, any last words, MC?
No, man, just keep rocking with us. Like, subscribe. We got some new things in the works. We're gonna do some new methods, switch up the formatting a little bit. We cooking though, and we're gonna keep cooking.
Yeah. And if everything goes to schedule, we'll probably be doing our first live show next week. So fingers crossed for that.
No doubt.
All right. Adios, everyone.
Peace.